And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers. We recently have seen one of the most horrific crimes. Almost an entire Spring family shot to death, allegedly by a man upset over his recent divorce. The sister-in-law's family was a target, and all of them were killed except a 15-year-old girl who was shot but survived to call 911 and may have saved lives as police arrested the man believed responsible. Now what happens to that girl who's lost her entire family and will possibly have to go to court when the time comes to testify? Who will be there to help her? Organizations like the one we're going to talk about, the Houston Area Women's Center. The Children's Court Services Program is there to help. Pam Hobbs is the manager of that program. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
We should go on and say that this organization is not actively involved in this case that we just spoke about in spring, but it's not dissimilar from cases you see when children are involved either in domestic situations or sexually abused situations. You help them. And how does that work? What's the thing you do first of all that gets these kids settled and ready to do what they have to do?
Well, what we do with the families initially is to deal with the initial crisis. We want to provide them with any referrals or resources that they need at the time that the crime occurs or shortly thereafter. Once criminal charges are filed, then we're going to be their helper as they go through the criminal justice system in the prosecution of a case. So whether it's the sexual abuse of a child or a child has witnessed a homicide, or there's been, lately we've had a lot of the domestic sex trafficking cases, the internet cases, cases involving teachers. We want to help those children understand the process. Court wasn't designed with children in mind, and so if you've ever been to the courthouse, you know it's not a real child-friendly place.
Right.
And so we want kids to know what's going to happen when they get down there, what they can expect, what the room looks like, who all the people are that they're going to meet down there, why they have to talk about all of this.
Do you have a mock-up set up, or how does that work? How do you get the real sense of what that room's going to be like?
We have several different tools that we use with the kids depending on their age. So with the very young children, we do have a large wooden box that looks like a courtroom. It's kind of the little people version of going to court. And so we have the furniture, the people, and the kids can move the people around. We talk about who those people are, what their jobs are, why they need to be there. With the kind of middle-aged children, we have a coloring book that we created that talks about all of the people in the courtroom, talks a lot about why it's so important for kids to tell the truth when they go to court, for them to understand that this is a serious thing that we're asking them to do, and we want to make sure that they're going to be able to tell the truth when they go to court.
And I know my first thought was that, man, it's got to be a scary thing for kids to be able to do that, but I was reading that the children actually come away feeling a sense of empowerment. In some cases, do they? How does that work? Why does that happen, you think?
And I don't want to say that court's not scary, because it is. It's scary for adults to have to go to court and talk about things that have been done to them. Right. It's not easy for anyone. But when children know what's going to happen, when we empower them with information about what they can expect to happen, when we show them the room ahead of time and let them get some control in the room, for many children, there's a therapeutic aspect to being in a safe environment, to be able to confront their offender and tell on them publicly. It gets their control back. That's their way to say to that person, you're not going to do that to me anymore because I have my control back.
Is that what got you into this? I mean, is that what motivated you to be a part of these children's lives in that way, because you can help them get their lives back in that way? It
is. It seemed like there was a gap. Everyone had a job to do in the system, but it really wasn't anybody's jobs to get the kids through it. You know, they had investigators, we had the doctors, we had the therapists, the prosecutors, but there wasn't anybody who was really there just for the kids. And so that was the gap that we're filling now, is to be there to answer the children's questions. We're not going to ask them anything about what happened to them, but we're going to answer their questions about what's going to happen next.
And how has this system evolved over the years? You said, you know, once upon a time, I mean, you know, it's never an easy thing for adults in court, let alone for children. Right. How has it changed over the years in terms of the methodology that you use to get these kids to really embrace what they're doing and have that empowerment?
You know, it's been a real trial and error process, and there were no programs to model after, because we were the first one and now one of only two in the state of Texas that take the approach that we're involved with the children from the beginning to the end. We're not going to just show up the day of the court and talk to the kids then, but we're going to be with their family throughout this process, which can often last for years. And I think people may not realize once a case gets filed, you know, it could be over in a year, but we've had a few recently where the kids waited for over 6 years to go to court and testify about what happened to them.
That's an amazing journey for them.
It is.
You also have a back-to-school program that the Houston Area Women's Center is doing. What is that all about, and what do you need? What would you want people to know about that?
Okay. The Back to School project is for all of the kids who receive services at the Women's Center. So it's children who are waiting to go to court, but it's also the children who are living in our shelter. It's the children who come to the Women's Center for counseling because they themselves have been sexually abused or because they've witnessed domestic violence. And so they're kids who may have some financial needs because of the situation that they've been in. Perhaps the breadwinner's now in jail or not in their lives anymore. It's time to get ready to go back to school, and like any other kids, they want the new stuff too. I remember the excitement of first day of school and wanting to have the brand new stuff. And so these kids already feel a little bit different because of their experiences, so they don't quite feel like they fit in with their peers.
Sure.
And then if they also don't have a new backpack and they're the one child who doesn't have the supplies, that makes them feel even more apart from their group.
So you're inviting the community to be able to go ahead and donate those to you, either belong to the actual backpacks or money?
Either one. Yeah. We will take backpacks, school supplies. We have a list on our website. We also have a means to make financial donations, and we can go and do the shopping.
Well, I do want people to know the information. It's here. We're going to put it on our website as well. But in addition to that, on our screen here now, the Children's Court Services, they provide shelter for victims, domestic violence and sexual abuse services and counseling as well. And the web address is www.hawc.org. Phone number 713-528-6798. If you didn't get it here, you can go to our website and get it, but people can go there and figure out how they can make a donation to your organization.
Yes, there's a lot of detail there.
All right. Pam, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, Christmas in July. The organization's teaming up to try to make a difference in the health of our community's children. That's next when Houston Newsmakers continues.